Today's top stories at NBR: Endeavour Capital facing liquidation, tech platform raises 1.3 million, government organising a telethon like Vaxathon, and there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR Today, a wrap of the day's top business stories from the authority in New Zealand business news since 1970, nbr.co.nz. It's Tuesday, October 12th. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. The government's financial statements for the year ended June 30 confirm the economy has rebounded strongly from last year's COVID-19 restrictions. For the year, the government recorded an operating deficit excluding investment gains and losses of $4.069 billion. In the previous year, which included the first nationwide lockdown, the deficit had been $23.05 billion, and as recently as the May budget, the Treasury had forecast a deficit of $15.1 billion. A better-than-expected tax take, reflecting more economic activity than forecast, was largely behind the government recording a lower deficit. Tax revenue in the 2021 year totaled $98 billion compared with $85.1 billion the year before. Spending was also about $3 billion lower than the budget forecast of $107.7 billion. Sir Neville Jordan's company Endeavour Capital is facing liquidation over a debt of $313,000 to a Florida town authority. The lauded technology entrepreneur and former NBR rich lister was also nearly bankrupted in February over an outstanding $80,000 he owed to a family trust. The Florida debt relates to a high-value manufacturing bridgehead Endeavour Capital planned to set up in the early 2010s in Jupiter, north of Miami. Jupiter had been selected by non-profit medical research facility Scripps Research to be the home of its Florida biomedical campus, Town Attorney Thomas Beard told NBR. A jump in the share price of NZX-listed refrigeration technology supplier Wellington Drive Technologies has prompted an inquiry by the NZX's regulatory arm. The Auckland-based business provides products to the retail, food and beverage industry. COVID-19's impact on both supply chains and demand reduced its revenue in the 9 months ended September by 42% to $26.5 million, while it also slipped to a $1.47 million loss. But then, in June, the company upgraded its guidance around revenue and profit after telling the market in April it expected record revenue this year. The company's share price promptly climbed 13% to 9.3 cents, a little below its 10.3 cent high of the previous year. Still in beta, Tauranga charity tech platform Go Generosity has raised $1.3 million from local investors and a contribution from Icehouse Ventures. Co-founded by Rowan McCloskey and Aidan Lett during the first nationwide COVID-19 lockdown, the startup gives businesses a way for their customers to pay it forward at the point of sale to produce and distribute goods and services for their favourite local charities. Rowan McCloskey joined the NBR's Andrew Bevan.
So we're in the level 4 lockdown in New Zealand, and I've got 3 restaurants of my own. And so during the lockdown was a pretty confronting time for the business, and just I suppose really uncertainties in terms of what the future looked like for us. And it was at that time when the idea came to me around how we could still be generous and how we could still meet the needs in our local community, but I suppose being able to do it in an affordable way.
Go Generosity co-founder Rohan McCloskey with Andrew Bevan there. The government is organising a telethon like Vaxathon to boost its Super Saturday vaccination push this weekend. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the nationwide broadcast on Saturday from noon to 8 p.m. would be carried by Māori TV, Channel 200, Discovery on 3 and Facebook.
This Saturday, all across the country, we are pushing the vaccination message. Super Saturday is your chance to roll up your sleeve for New Zealand and help make us one of the most vaccinated and therefore protected countries in the world.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Cybersecurity educator Safestack has closed a $2.3 million seed funding round only a year after the pandemic forced it to pivot away from in-person consultancy to an online training program. The Safestack Academy has now signed on 60 customers across 6 countries, grown its team from 4 staff to 14, reached nearly $500,000 in annual reoccurring revenue, and secured financing to further that growth. Joining the NBR's Will Mace was Safestack Academy CEO Laura Bell.
COVID lockdown number 1 came last year, and like many companies out there, we dropped 94% of revenue overnight. And at the time, our team was just 4 people, and we kind of sat around virtually and we said, well, what can we do? And we decided we'd had this idea for a long time. We're quite mission driven, and we wanted to make security education as available and accessible to teams around the world as we possibly could, in a way that you didn't have to have a big budget. You didn't need to be, a big enterprise to do it, because the earlier you start doing security, the more effective it is.
Safestack Academy CEO Laura Bell with Will Mace. The full details of those stories and more are at nbr.co.nz right now. Tomorrow at NBR, details of a draft strategy for a net zero carbon economy from the New Zealand Infrastructure Commission, as well as details on the offer for Taupō's motor racing track. I'm Paul Brennan. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow from around lunchtime for the morning's NBR trending stories, then same time, same place right here again from 5:30 tomorrow for another NBR Today.